This video will be extremely helpful because we'll not just pick out which forms you need to sell a home here in Ontario and how to fill them out, but we'll also touch on an average scenario leading up to selling a home, which is super important as a brand new agent. We'll touch on at the beginning the listing appointment itself and how to just come in over prepared and not stress, but still get the deal. This video will be super helpful, but as always, if you're looking to learn it all, look for my buyer and seller logistics and actions course in the description below. More on that later in the video, but let's just dive right into the computer. Hey guys, so we're just at my video flow checklist here, and if you've seen previous videos of mine, this is where I love to start and then dive into taking action. If you're here just to learn how to fill out the Form 200, go to this time mark now that I'll put up on the screen. But if you want to talk about listing presentations and that, because this is what I cared about and what I was concerned about when I was in the Humber College real estate program, I had no fear of growing a business, generating leads. This is what I'd been doing for 3 years prior to getting my license, but I wasn't the person going to listing appointments, filling out forms, doing CMAs, etc. So I like to, if you're anything like me and you're in the Humber College real estate program, this is a great thing just to touch on, to maybe get the confidence going, would prepare yourself of what you're going to get yourself into. Okay, so we're going to touch on listing presentation right now, and then we're going to prepare forms and web forms with the help of Geo Warehouse. So let's say we have a scenario. When I do these videos, I love to give a scenario, like an average scenario. We have, let's say, these sellers. They were referred to us by a previous client. We generated the lead online, yada, yada. We door knocked, anything, right? We've talked to them on the phone. They haven't agreed to work with us yet, but let's say we know, talking on the phone, that they're ready to sell in 10 days, right? And now we're going to be heading over there. And I'm going to talk a bit about what I do, maybe at listing presentations, just to give you an idea of, it doesn't have to be so intimidating, right? So you're going to meet the sellers at their home, you're going to do a walkthrough, and you're going to have what I call a market snapshot. This is basically a printed or digital CMA of the 3 to 5 properties that have sold, pending, or active. You could even go a bit deeper depending on the area. It could be canceled listings, it could be expired, anything ideally sold. And of course, talk on anything active who you're competing with. And then you could, I say digital CMA or digital snapshot, because some people just use a iPad, they turn it around, put it in front of them. I like the printed copies in just a folder, right? So you have a folder that's maybe your brokerage folder, your personal brand folder. It could be very, very simple, right? So 3 to 5 homes are in there, and when it's printed, you can put it right in front of them. You can have your own computer in hand. You could print them for yourself as well, and then you can highlight areas of conversation, what the houses have sold for, how many days on market, what they listed for, what was their selling strategy. You can highlight all of this stuff, because at the very least, of all the conversations you have with your potential seller at this point, what the home's worth and why you want to sell it for what you want to sell it for is their main concern. So you have to have this, you have to get through to them. That's why I said mention here, your brokerage will have this most in-depth listing presentation packages for you. Take from those, print them off, make them your own, but at the very least, have this market snapshot of 3 to 5 properties in a folder with literally your business card, maybe an about you. Make it your own, but that is the most important. So let's say a conversation's coming up where we're going to confidently decide on a selling strategy. If it's going to be holding offers, for instance, for 5 or 6 days, if it's going to be just 24 accepting offers within 24 hours, accepting offers within 48 hours, you'll talk about a selling strategy with them, and anything that needs to be done at the home, because let's say they've loved the price, right? So we'll talk about that. They've agreed to the price, but let's say they like the price. You've already done your walk through the house. You almost start talking confidently to them about what needs to be done, because a touch of paint here and there, cleaning, staging, we have to get them on a schedule, because let's say hypothetically it was those 10 days. We want to get this stuff done in 5, because of course, it all could be done very fast within a day or 2, but we want to get them on a schedule because we want to have pictures taken, video taken, drone footage, everything like that. We want to start maybe pre-marketing the property, coming soon, stuff like that. So I'd like to have at least 5 days to get that stuff up. But of course, this could all be done in 1 if need be, or longer. Let's say they agree to a listing price, commission payable, channels and fixtures included and excluded, and a listing date and a rough closing date. So that's the stuff. I wanted to bring that up and show you, because that gives you an idea of what you're going to be talking about and what you need to have for them. Confidence is one thing. and knowing what their house could sell for because you've done your CMAs and stuff like that, which my course goes pretty in depth into in the description below. Okay, so we've got that down. In this video, we're going to be setting up a template because I love to set up web forms for success for you. There's not too many forms needed, but we'll put them in there. We'll open up Geo Warehouse to gather information. We'll prepare forms in web forms ready for our clients or listing presentation if you want to take it over there, because I like going to listing presentations with this ready so that you can get the signature on the spot and leave with a signature, right? That's the dream scenario. That's what you're going for. So if it can happen right there and you can literally turn your computer around, turn your iPad around, or send them to their phone, the information might as well. Forms 200, 810, not every brokerage needs to working with a realtor, but we'll touch on that. And I just added some forms. We're not going to fill these out today. We're just going to fill up the 200 today. But this seller direction as well, 120, and we'll put any amendments to the agreement of purchase sale which needed. You might not need it. But let's dive right over to a subject property I have up here. We're just going to use this as a subject property, and we're going to fill out a form just so you have the information and gather it and everything like that. But basically, I have web forms open. I just went tools, and then I went to web forms, or I don't have to press it, hover on it, and web forms comes down, and we're over here. So like this is your member dashboard. Let's go create a template first, like mentioned, because I want you to have this, because hopefully you're going to have a ton of listings, right? So you're not going to want to have to create these every single time. So your brokerage might have this stuff set up for you, which is perfectly fine. If they do, then just use these. They call them kits. I call them templates. That's for sure. Call them what they are. Let's say we want to add, just so I can do it. So let's say residential seller template. Perfect. There's one there. And we're going to come down here to residential listing, and we don't have to put a description. So we'll save this one, or maybe if I already have this one, I don't want to have to be duplicated. We'll call it one, but you'd probably call it residential seller template. You don't have to call them kits, a bit old school, calling them kits. And then from here, we basically just need to start adding. Comes all the way down to forms, and you can do as much as deep as you want. And we want to start adding forms. I always just use the number. It's the easiest. You could search for the possible name of it if you like as well, but you just want to add these in. I'll probably speed this up just so it goes quick. We'll do the first one, 200. You want to, it'll populate. You want listing presentation or listing agreement, sorry. And you want to add that, and that'll be already in there. And let's just say I'll do a couple here and I'll speed it up. Let's say the amendment, perfect. From there, let's just do, and like mentioned, you might not need the attend depending on your brokerage. We need it here at eXp Realty. So you want to add that, and now you have your template perfectly waiting for you. There it is. And now when you go to, we come back over here to our dashboard to start creating a transaction, because that's what we're going to be doing now. Create transaction, and we're going to set it all up. When I'm creating a transaction, you always use the name. So let's say the name is Gary Tree, sure. And then you look for your template, and the one we just created, residential seller template 1, perfect, there it is. And we don't need to do anything here. You're already the listings salesperson. You don't need to import any data on this particular case. That's on the buy side, and we will create, perfect. You're now at the wizard to a certain extent is what it's called, right? And it's one of 5 steps. It's basically 4 steps. The 5th is nothing. And you want to just start filling it out so it auto-populates in your forms, which we'll touch on. So basically that's street, and I'll fill this out. I'll speed this up right here, but you want to start filling this out. Go back to the listing. If you need any information that you don't quite know, it's all here for you. And if it's not here for you, we're going to be going to Geo Warehouse, which I'll show you what's up there. Postal code. We don't need frontage direction here, but let's go property width, property depth, assessment roll number, and legal description. And this is where we're heading over to the famous Geo Warehouse that they talk about a lot in the course for sure. It comes up a lot if you're reading the material. It comes up in Sims 2. The facilitators talk about it a lot. You don't use it every day to a certain extent, but it's very nice to have, especially in this particular scenario. Okay, so mine populates in Toronto. If you're Toronto, that's perfect. But if you're not, come down and find your area. This particular house is in Waterloo region. Find your region. And then when you're putting the house in, you just have to put in basically, you don't have to put the whole address in. It should populate just with those, and there it is, perfect. And this is pretty cool. And at this stage, if you know this area, it showcases where it is in the area. You've already done your CMAs. You know what you're coming in with, what this house is worth, and what you want to try to sell it for with your selling strategy. So you just click property report, and we just need to grab those 4 things, don't we? We'll be hiding the seller's name. In this particular case, you'll see something we blocked out, but it's the old seller's name anyways. But legal description, privacy purposes, we'll block it out. Legal description, then we want to go back to what we're creating here, and that'll be the first one in. Here's legal description, and we continue to go down, and we're looking for width or depth, right? So they'll put frontage as width. Don't get confused there. And you just want to keep scrolling down, and it should probably come up here. Perfect. Frontage, so that is width, no problem. And we want depth right next to it. And we want that assessment roll number. That should be just a little bit lower, or there it is, actually, right, ARN. Perfect, there it is. And that's that. Okay, so we'll go down a bit lower. You don't need to fill out too much more here. So let's say you did know your listing price. You did know what, you've done your CMA, and you know what this is going to sell for. Let's say we think we're going to get, we want to list it for $749. And you could even write that in there, because of course you can just change it later when you're there. But if it's like there with, they see it in front of them, and that's what you want to list it at, one step closer. Present use, pretty easy. Residential or single family residential is best. And don't have to put property includes or excludes or rental items. This is stuff that you will talk to them about, of course, but you'll be putting it more into when creating the back end, the listing skeleton. Purchase price deposit, don't need anything like this. We're off to the next one. Let's just basically fill this out so things start auto-populating. Contract date, let's say we are going to be seeing them tomorrow. So we'll say the Saturday is when we just started, because we'll put it in there. Expiry date, just go 90 days is the standard after that. So 1, 2, 3, let's say January 20th, not a big dealer. Offer date, this is stuff we will have to determine, irrevocable. Acceptance dates, these kind of closing, this is the stuff we'll be talking about as well. Title search, possession date, all that stuff you had to discuss. This is just filling out this. Let's go next. And here is where we're going to want to add the seller, create new transaction contact, and it will be seller, and first name Gary, last name Tree, and email. You want to put an email in here, just put, make sure you have their email. It doesn't matter right now, but when you are moving things over to Authentisign to send to them, you'll want to have their email for sure, but we'll save it right there for now. It's not mandatory. And now we have our 3 people. Perfect. We'll go next again. And here is we have our forms, right? So our forms are here. And this is where, let's say you didn't create that template that I created at the beginning, right? So your seller template, a residential seller template, you'll want to add them here. And of course you can add more, take some out. This template seems good for now. And then we'll go next. And like mentioned, the last one is nothing, some sort of fax machine type stuff. And we are done. So now we have what people call the kit. You could call this your transaction dashboard, which is what it is, but people call this area your kit. So let's just dive in to start filling it out. And when you're filling these out, and let's say you do have to fill out all of them, I always like to do the heavy lifting. Fill out the big one first. Let's see what's populated and what hasn't populated, because we've already done some pre-filling out, haven't we? So this is, it's a good system once you finally start getting it down, but just you still have to double check everything. Okay, this looks good. We have price, we have our brokerage, what we're going to sell for. Okay, commission. Let's say you know what you're going for commission. Let's say 5% plus HST. Don't fill this. Cooperating brokerage will be getting, let's say 2% plus HT. All the stuff. You have a holdover period as well. And again, all that stuff up here you'll have to discuss with your seller, of course. Come down here, keep going. Make sure this looks good. Double check everything, what we need to fill out. We won't talk about that right now. Schedule, don't need schedule. And that looks perfect there. Authorized to bind the brokerage. Declaration of assurance. This is us. We definitely want to put this in here. This is why it's great to work with realtors, because we are covered by insurance for errors and omissions. And acknowledgement. Seller acknowledges that they fully understand the agreement. And this is what we're going to be hopefully seeing them tomorrow. So they will be acknowledging then. And that's your form 200 right there. You save and close just at the top and double check everything. And this is where you would take this form, move it over to Authentisign, put all the initials, all the signatures in the right place. I have separate videos on using Authentisign. But that is basically it, guys. I really hope that helped, guys. And again, if you're looking to understand the complete flow of a real estate transaction, both on the buy and the sell side, here specific to Ontario, look for my course in the description below. Learn in a week what takes average agents months, years, or some actually never learn, from finding properties for your clients that fit their criteria, setting up showings, setting up hot sheets and auto emails, doing full CMAs to find out the value of properties, writing offers in web forms, refining them in Authentisign, everything, A to Z on the entire process. I 100% guarantee that course will save you so many hours of your time, alleviate so much stress, and maybe what's most important and most valuable, have it to refer back to when needed. That link in the description below is also a value link for the time being for the YouTube family. But thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions at all, you can DM, email, comment on this video. I get back to everyone. My name is Callum Moore, eXp Realty real estate agent here in Ontario, and we'll see you in the next one.